Peace, beautiful humans, and welcome to a 10-month series of invitations, resources, prompts, tips, permission, encouragement, inspiration, body movement. Whether you are by foot, using a wheelchair, using a powered stroller, using transit. This invitation centers people that have no choice but to move in these ways, centers people that cannot drive in this time, centers people that are choosing to not drive in this time. So, case in point, walking on some snow. I wanted you to feel this with me. I felt like for the sake of invitation and integrity, while the quality might not be as great, and you're gonna get close-ups of my nose, that integrity will move with me, at least in some fashion. So, 3 things as we think about moving into this first theme of sorts. Notice King Soopers grocery store nearby for many folks living within a 1 to 3 mile radius. So this is a series that is rooted in going into more intentional relationship with what is right outside our front door. Whether we're in a city, a rural area, suburban area, that we are moving into proximity with our human bodies, beings, thoughts, emotions, skin as we are, and not defaulting every trip by the automobile, if that is our reality. And also, if we have no choice but to be moving this way, that we are feeling inspired and equipped to tell our stories, to name our needs, to advocate for rights and budgets and priority, discernment for how places are built, to not only accommodate, but to prioritize, to even center, to even imagine places where there is no car. God, right? So here we go. 3 things moving us. Before getting overly specific, I find that it's so important to root into these invitations with honoring and listening. And that we in the best ways that we can, we carry and hold a spirit of humility. Humility, folks. I was combining friends and folks, fracs. Friends and folks, humility, humbly moving, humbly opening, humbly listening. That we're not powering, we're not claiming space, we're not owning, we're leaning in and we're opening. We're listening, we're honoring. And so the first invitation related to this, and I go into much more detail below, is rooted in research, connection to, and honoring of Indigenous community, Native Indigenous community, that as we move on this land, that we are connected to and honoring the Indigenous populations and people that have and that still live on this land and live on and honor and depend on all that moves in these spaces well before we were ever a blip. And so that we create ritual, we pause, we breathe. Perhaps putting a hand on a tree, perhaps kneeling down and touching the soil, perhaps reading a poem written by a local Indigenous community. Where I'm walking, I'm honoring the Arapaho, the Cheyenne, the Comanche, Southern Ute, Apache. We move with that. We move with that in all of our steps and all of our movement. The second invitation in this spirit of listening and honoring. And again, there's a couple links with a few more resources to go deeper below. But there's a history of people coming into land and neighborhoods and taking what they want, making it what they want, thinking they can go in and do whatever they want, both with their bodies and their money and their resources. And so we, having, again, breathing and intention and humility to just move and to listen, to honor eye contact and people who you see and share space with, to wave, humility, 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 and that we're not reactive, we're not holding on, but we're opening, we're actively opening and listening. And we're not taking, we're not using, we're not manipulating, we're weaving our story with the story that's outside of our walls and our screens and our cars. And the third thing that actually also belongs at the beginning and weaving itself throughout is honoring and centering and listening to our inner needs, to self-compassion, to really listen to our bodies, how they're feeling, that we're honoring our bodies and our minds and our hearts. We're not steamrolling, we're not trying to produce, we're not trying to transact, we're not trying to overdo anything. That we have a posture of being. And that means that we listen. That if we feel pain in our hips and our knees, that if we feel like we need to stop and rest and catch our breath, if we need to not continue going forward for a variety of reasons and turn back, that we do that and we honor that. And that the more that we carry an understanding of the more that we honor ourselves in these ways, both on the inside and our physical bodies, the more that we can honor all those around us, that we're not in reaction, we're not projecting pain, and that we're not clinging so tightly to our positions and our postures. So, with that, be just invited, move through the different themes below, read through some of the links, and just be invited to take your first handful of walks during the month or the season or the time that you are experiencing these different themes. Just take time, just be in your body, be honoring of Indigenous Native peoples, be honoring and listening to those all around you and all the differences that share this human story, and that we move into humility and we practice and move into self-compassion and patience and presence as we move into the rest of the themes throughout this whole series. Peace. Beloveds, peace.